It was a quiet Thursday afternoon when I stepped out for my usual coffee break. The sun was bright, the streets calm, an ideal moment to slip away from work for a few minutes. I walked into the coffee shop we always went to, expecting nothing unusual. People were scattered around the room, quietly sipping their drinks, tapping on keyboards, or speaking softly to one another. I was halfway to the counter when I saw her, my wife, Sarah, sitting at a corner table with a man I didn't recognize. At first, I thought I had made a mistake. But then I saw the way they leaned toward each other, how they laughed together, their hands brushing more than once in a way that was far too familiar. My chest tightened. My heart sped up, but I stayed still. I didn't shout or march over. A cold, unsettling calm washed over me instead. No one else seemed to notice anything unusual. To them, it must have looked like two people having a pleasant conversation. But I knew better. I recognized the quiet intimacy in his arm resting casually behind her chair, the soft way she let her hand linger on his. It said everything. My thoughts were spinning, but I forced myself to stay clear-headed. No scene. No confrontation. Just observation. As I stood near the counter pretending to study the menu, I slipped a pen and a small scrap of paper from my pocket. I wrote a short message. Don't come home. Nothing more, no accusations, no questions, just 4 words that held all the hurt, betrayal, and finality of what I had just witnessed. I folded the note carefully. When she stood up to pick up her drink, I walked past her table, slid the note under her cup, and left without pausing or glancing back. No spectacle, no shouting match, just a quiet, decisive act. Walking to my car, my hands trembled slightly even though my mind felt strangely sharp. The glass doors reflected my face as I passed, and I hardly recognized the calm expression staring back. On the surface, I looked composed. Inside, a storm raged. I wasn't just leaving her in public. I was leaving her with the realization of what she had done, alone, with no one there to cushion the truth. The note was a silent boundary she had crossed on her own. When I got home, the silence felt overwhelming. The house seemed emptier than I remembered, even though she was only a few miles away. I didn't call her or text her. I didn't wait for excuses. I poured a drink, sat down in the living room, and let the quiet sink in. Every small sound, the shift of the floorboards, the sway of the blinds, felt louder than usual, as if the world itself was holding its breath. I knew she would read the note soon. I pictured her seeing it, her expression changing as she understood what those 4 words meant for both of us. No explanations, no audience, just the truth hitting her all at once. Hours passed. My phone stayed silent. No messages. No missed calls. Nothing. And with every minute, I imagined the moment she opened that note and realized that everything had just changed for good. It was a moment I never actually witnessed, yet it unfolded in my imagination with perfect clarity. Every tiny gesture, every breath, every flicker of shock and understanding played out as if I'd been standing right there. Leaving the note had required almost no effort, a small action really, but its impact would be enormous. It was justice delivered quietly, and in that stillness I felt a strange sense of power returning to me. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. A few of her friends had noticed she hadn't come home the night before, and speculation spread fast. Whispers of a fight, a breakup, some explosive argument. They had no idea that the truth was the exact opposite. There had been no chaos, no shouting, nothing dramatic. Everything had been calm, intentional, firmly in my hands. I kept quiet as calls and messages came in, responding politely but sharing nothing. People wanted to believe it had all blown up in spectacular fashion, but really, everything had been distilled into 4 simple words: don't come home. When Sarah finally returned hours later, she didn't knock or ring the bell. She slipped inside silently, her eyes scanning the house as if she'd stepped into unfamiliar territory. I was on the couch, collected on the outside, a steady storm inside. She spotted the note on the kitchen counter and picked it up with unsteady hands. She read it once, then again, as if trying to understand the gravity hidden within those words. When she looked at me, I saw everything at once: shock, disbelief, the dawning awareness of what she had done. "Why?" she asked, her voice unsteady. Why didn't you say anything? I met her gaze without wavering. I didn't need to, I said. The note said enough. No raised voices, no accusations, no heated confrontation. Just truth, and the consequences that came with it. The silence between us seemed almost tangible, heavier than any argument could have been. And in that silence, she finally understood that her actions had led us here, that the trust she had broken couldn't be restored. From that moment forward, everything shifted. Our relationship, once easy and taken for granted, became a mirror reflecting the choices we made, the respect we either upheld or discarded. People continued to murmur about the coffee shop, the note, the quiet way I handled everything. They expected shouting, drama, a scene. But what they got instead was silence, control, and a devastation that needed no noise to be heard. And in that silence, I realized something simple. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't to confront or shout, but to make one deliberate choice that forces the truth to land harder than any argument ever could.